Welcome to Andy Reads the Bible, where we're reading through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation in 1 year. I'm your host, Andy Brassfield. Today is January the 20th. I'll be reading Exodus 9 through 11 from the Message translation. Exodus chapter 9. God said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and tell him, God, the God of the Hebrews, says, 'Release my people so they can worship me.' If you refuse to release them and continue to hold on to them, I'm giving you fair warning. God will come down hard on your livestock out in the fields, horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, striking them with a severe disease. God will draw a sharp line between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Egypt. Not one animal that belongs to the Israelites will die." Then God set the time. Tomorrow God will do this thing. And the next day God did it. All the livestock of Egypt died, but not one animal of the Israelites died. Pharaoh sent men to find out what had happened, and there it was. None of the livestock of the Israelites had died, not one death. But Pharaoh stayed stubborn. He wouldn't release the people. God said to Moses and Aaron, "Take fistfuls of soot from a furnace and have Moses throw it into the air right before Pharaoh's eyes. And it will become a film of fine dust all over Egypt and cause sores and eruption of boils on people and animals throughout Egypt." So they took soot from a furnace, stood in front of Pharaoh, and threw it up in the air. It caused boils to erupt on people and animals. The magicians weren't able to compete with Moses this time because of the boils. They were covered with boils just like everyone else in Egypt. Chapter 10. God said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh. I've made him stubborn, him and his servants, so that they can force him to look at these signs, and so you'll be able to tell your children and grandchildren how I toyed with the Egyptians like a cat with a mouse. You'll tell them the stories of the signs that I brought down on them, so that you'll all know that I am God." Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said to him, "God, the God of the Hebrews, says, 'How long are you going to refuse to knuckle under? Release my people so they can worship me. If you refuse to release my people, watch out. Tomorrow I'm bringing locusts into your country. They'll cover every square inch of ground. No one will be able to see the ground. They'll devour everything left over from the hailstorm, even the saplings out in the fields. They'll clear-cut the trees. They'll invade your houses, filling the houses of your servants, filling every house in Egypt. Nobody will have ever seen anything like this, from the time your ancestors first set foot on this soil until today." Then he turned on his heel and left Pharaoh. Pharaoh's servants said to him, "How long are you going to let this man harass us? Let these people go and worship their God. Can't you see that Egypt is on its last legs?" So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. He said to them, "Go ahead then. Worship your God, but just who exactly is going with you?" Moses said, "We're taking young and old, sons and daughters, flocks and herds. This is our worship, celebration of God." He said, "I'd sooner send you off with God's blessings than let you go with your children. Look, you're up to no good. It's written all over your faces. No way. Just the men are going. Go ahead and worship God. That's what you want so badly." And they were thrown out of Pharaoh's presence. Chapter 11. God said to Moses, "I'm going to hit Pharaoh and Egypt one final time, and then he'll let you go. When he releases you, that will be the end of Egypt for you. He won't be able to get rid of you fast enough. So here's what you do. Tell the people to ask each man from his neighbor and each woman from her neighbor for things made of silver and gold." God saw to it that the Egyptians liked the people. Also, Moses was greatly admired by the Egyptians and respected public figure among both Pharaoh's servants and the people at large. Then Moses confronted Pharaoh. God's message. At midnight I will go through Egypt, and every firstborn child in Egypt will die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sits on his throne, to the firstborn of the slave girl working at her hand mill. Also the firstborn of animals. Widespread wailing will erupt all over the country, lament such as has never been and never will be again. But against the Israelites, man, woman, or animal, there won't be so much as a dog's bark, so that you'll know that God makes a clear distinction between Egypt and Israel. Then all these servants of yours will grovel before me, begging to leave. Leave, you and all the people who follow you, and I will most certainly leave. Moses, seething with anger, left Pharaoh. God said to Moses, Pharaoh's not going to listen to a thing you say, so that the signs of my presence and work are going to multiply in the land of Egypt. Moses and Aaron had performed all these things in Pharaoh's presence, but God turned Pharaoh more stubborn than ever. Yet again he refused to release the Israelites from his land. And this concludes today's reading. Today's episode is sponsored by Big Tree Telecom, where you can get a world-class phone system without all the hassle and expense. To learn more about how we can help your business talk big, visit us on the web at bigtreetele.com. That's bigtreetele.com. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and your favorite podcasting app. Search for Andy Reads the Bible. Our podcast page is located at andybible.libsyn.com. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow.